it because holy hell. Okay, I am excited to talk to you guys about this today. So we're going to talk about why I'm giving up part of my business. And the reason I wanted to share from that perspective is because I feel like this applies to all of us in so many ways in terms of like risk taking, self-trust, thinking about things differently, how we deliver value to our audience. So I really want to talk about it, not just to share what I'm doing, but to also share like what I think is important and how we're thinking about business. Then I also have quite a few questions that I got that I want to answer for y'all, because I know that this is still very new, very different. And so want to dive into those as much as possible. And then if you guys have questions, obviously now is the time to ask them on this live as well. Oh, Michelle, that's actually fascinating. Okay, taking that advice to heart because I will try anything at this point. Luckily, I have the loveliest clients who I can be like, hey, I'm going to need to just be right back. But yes, if we could do anything to help that would be amazing. Besides wear a diaper, which has come across my mind for consideration. And I feel like that's a no for me. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Okay, so let's kind of dive into the first part. And then if you have questions, obviously drop them. I'll try to grab them or come back to them. Yeah, or just answer them right then probably, which will be easier. Then I have some written down that people had sent in and asked us as well. So, all right. Save the diapers for postpartum. That was kind of my thought. I'm like, I'm not like quite ready for that yet. All right. So let me just real quick break it down because I think that this will be helpful. But oh, and remember, if you comment, you are entered to win our giveaway, what is it today? I need to be better about remembering this. What is it today? It is a $100 gift card. Easy. Amazing. Look at that. Okay. So if you comment, have a question, whatever, you're entered to win our $100 gift card. So we'll let you know tomorrow and you just email us just as a thank you for being here as always. Hey, Alessia. Wait an extra minute because more may come out. Okay. Also very helpful. I'm actually so glad I shared this with y'all because now I have like 2 legitimate strategies to try here. So thank you for crowdsourcing that with me. I very much appreciate that. All right. So if you have questions, let me know. But brief summary in terms of like giving up a part of my business. I want to make sure we all understand what I even mean by that, because I think obviously like everyone's trying to wrap their mind around not only what an NFT is and what all of that means and what they'd have to get set up in their wallet and blah, 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 like, but also like what it means in terms of like what the value is I'm offering. And so I just want to talk about that for a second to make sure that's super clear too. But basically the way we're doing it is that you are effectively buying a forever seat in a lit up life. So that means I am effectively giving up stake in my business because you now own that seat. I really don't. Yes, I'm delivering the services of that seat, but the ownership of that coaching spot is yours. That's so cool because that is a very, big piece of my business. Like I'm doing all one-on-one. So it's not like, oh, I have whatever, 100 other programs and this is like one little thing. This is like the entire thing that I do basically. And so you own a seat to that. Also, it's really valuable because we have a very large waitlist. We have well over 400 people now on a waitlist for a seat. And so when you own that seat, yes, you're owning the stake in that, but you're also owning something that already has a lot of attached value and a wait list with it. Does that make sense? And so what you do with that is totally up to you. So if you're a current client, which this is a question I got, by the way, so I'll just answer it very quickly. But if you're a current client, you're buying an additional seat. You're not buying your own, if that makes sense. So you'd have your own and another one. So you have the one you have in terms of our agreement right now, and then you'd have another one and you would decide what to do with that. If you're not a current client, you're buying a seat that you could choose to use for yourself, or you could choose to resell or lease, right? So ultimately, you are in full and complete ownership of that spot. We will do things to support that. Like, I'm happy to send an email to the waitlist, or whatever, when you want to do something with it, but ultimately, like, you own that. And that's so cool because you are buying a piece of a business, right? And so I really just wanted to like make that clear so that when I say like why I'm giving up a part of my business, everyone understands what that means. But I think that what's really important in terms of being willing to give up a spot in your business is what I want to talk about, because I feel like much like when I initially did the partnership, it's easy to think that's crazy, right? It's easy to kind of be like, but why would somebody ever do that? And I almost feel like it's easy to think there's a catch or something. But ultimately, what my purpose is, or what the point is in being able to do that, is I really feel like I'm so interested in this idea of not just us determining the value of our business, but our audience being able to do that in some way too. And I find that to be incredibly exciting, and some of the ways that we're moving in terms of like more decentralization and things like that. And so that I'm super, super fucking excited about. And I really just want to see how that plays out, right? I was in Me and the Golden Ticket Right to Your Dream last night. That's so funny, Sarah. I love it. Oh my God, Ann Lindsay's. You know what's so funny about that? I was super tired today. And now I can be like, it's because I was busy being in everyone's dream last night. That makes sense. I was so tired today. Also probably because I peed 100 times last night, but regardless. But I love that you guys were thinking about it. Or rather dreaming about it. But I think that's so exciting. And I think it's worth figuring out, like, what does that look like, right? Because that could be incredible, in my opinion. Like, the fact that I can give my audience value in another way is so exciting, right? So it's like, or my clients rather, like, it's not just the value they're getting in terms of like the coaching and the business and the results, but it's the value they're getting in terms of the investment opportunity, what they can do with that later, how they can turn that around, and how they can literally create appreciating value in a spot that they have, right? And so there's no catch. It's just really an interesting way to think about business, where you're not just getting value in the coaching, but value in the seat. And I just haven't seen anyone do that or talk about that or experiment with that. And so that's a big reason why I'm doing it. It's not because I think it's perfect or I'm going to get it perfectly right, or it's like the only way we should be doing things, but it's because it's a new way of doing things that I think is really, really incredible. And I think it's worth testing. And so, yes, it requires something scary, right? Like, give up a spot in my business, but that's how all of this works in a way, right? All of the new things we do aren't based in certainty and require us doing something new and scary. And I think where we get so trapped in business sometimes is we're waiting for that certainty, right? Hey, Lisa. Hi, Kaylin. Yes, it's the compound value of the stake NFT as it increases over time. Exactly, 100%. And I love that there's dual value there, right? It's like, yeah, like what you're getting from the coaching, which I think is just exponentially valuable, obviously. But the fact that that spot and that NFT is appreciating over time, like, that's just, to me, is like so cool. And like being able to give that to someone, I think, is amazing. And, you know, the point is, I think that we look for certainty so much in business. We're so like wanting someone else to do it, show us that it for sure works. And then, you know, we're kind of willing to do it or whatever. But what I think is true here is that we have to be willing to do the uncertain thing. Am I certain that I think it will work and play out? Sure. But there are so many things that are uncertain. Like, I won't really have control over who has that spot. There's like a tremendous amount of uncertainty there. That's like really could freak me out if I wanted it to, right? I won't have control over that value in many ways. So like someone could decide to lease it for $100 a month, and I could be like, wow, I feel like that really got undervalued. Or someone could decide to lease it for, $10,000 a month, and I could be like, wow, that's uncomfortable. Like that, I have to process that too. So my point in saying all this is there are so many unknowns and like so many places of like discomfort here. But I really want to just share that and normalize it, because I think that most of us wait until we don't have any of that, or we don't have any question marks to do something. And in my experience, that's actually what keeps us stuck, and it keeps us from being innovators and keeps us from moving our business forward, is we're waiting for the uncertainty to disappear, right? Yes, Kaylin, exactly. It opens opportunities for normalizing accepting cryptocurrency as payment for services. Totally. I mean, I really believe that that's in many ways where we're going. And if I'm wrong, but that is where my brain is right now. And so the more I can normalize that and speak to that, I think it's so important. Lisa says, do you see yourself doing more of that in the future? Is it more of a one-time thing? Okay, so that's a really good question. So my view on this is there is one golden ticket. I do not plan to do this for all the spots in my business for a variety of reasons. Doesn't mean we'll never do anything else with an NFT or something like that. Obviously, like I'm not closing the door on any of that. I'm super interested in learning this whole, what this whole thing brings about, but don't think that if you buy the NFT, then it's going to like somehow decrease in value because I'm going to create a bunch of other golden tickets. That is not my intent. And I definitely would not want to do that to whoever won it, because like the value is that you're the one that holds the spot. So no, I definitely won't be doing more of those in that way at all. Like I love that it's special and there's one. And I also like, this is something I want to say that's important too. It's just how I was saying, like, yes, we have to do the uncomfortable thing, but we also get to decide what our boundary is. Like, I probably wouldn't make every spot in my one-on-one coaching an NFT like that right now because of all the unknown and uncertainty there. And so I'm willing to do the innovative thing, but I don't have to go 0 to 60 with it and be like, wow, now I don't own any of my spots. Everyone like owns them. Like, that's not what I'm trying to do either. Does that make sense? So it's kind of like when I first thought of the partnership idea, I didn't make my whole business model that. I tested it for a while because that wouldn't have made sense. So anyway, you get to test the things you want to do and be innovative and still do the different thing, but you don't have to push yourself so outside of your comfort zone that you're like gonna shut down, right? If I was giving up like every seat in my business, that's totally how I would feel. Like I would not be able to like regulate to this in the same way. But no, golden ticket is very special. There's one. That's why it's going to be so valuable, I think. And to be honest, I think it will be far more valuable to the owner of it, because this first time, I think we're teaching everyone about it, and we have to do so much work to like overcome barriers, get people to understand it, that kind of thing. Usually stuff like this, I think, goes better the second, third time around. So that value is really getting transferred to whoever holds the golden ticket. Okay, cool. So the reason I feel okay doing this, and I think this is important to say, is because I don't put myself in a situation where I have to go 0 to 60. So that was like a perfect question. And I would really encourage everybody else to think about that too, is like, you might want to dip your toe into learning about this and stuff like that, but it also doesn't mean you have to like go become this like crypto investor or know everything there is to know about NFTs. I am certainly not an NFT or crypto expert. I'm just willing to try things that stretch me enough that I'm going to learn a lot, but that don't completely feel like so dysregulating. And I think that's important to say too. Innovation matters, stretching ourselves matters, being willing to go outside of our comfort zone matters. And you have to figure out what is the way to do that that feels good for you, or you're going to get the experience and the evidence that it doesn't make sense to stretch. You have to wait for the certain thing, right? Okay, cool. So, another thing that I think is really interesting is how our audience will get to determine value. And I want to talk about that for a second, because I think that this is something that is really helpful for us to think about as business owners, where that doesn't have to be personal, right? So for example, I imagine that, and I've heard this from different people that have asked me different questions or shared different thoughts around this, is like, some people are like thinking this is like worth so much and going to go for so much. Like someone recently told me how much they thought it was going to go for. And I was like, I mean, I will just die. Like I can't, like if it goes for that, I'll just like lose my shit. But like someone else might think like, oh, maybe it's going to go for, $500 or something like that. I have no idea. But my point is being able to depersonalize that is so important. Like, I think that's a really big learning and piece I want to share in this, is like, that doesn't have to mean anything about me or my coaching. In fact, it probably means way more about where that person's head is at. So like the person saying to me like, oh, I think it's going to be this, like that probably has a lot more to do with like what they can see as the vision, how much they believe in where this is going, how much they believe in me in terms of like the business model and stuff, not in terms of like Lacey, right? Just like someone else who thinks it's going to go for very little might like really think like crypto's not a thing. This is so weird. There are so many barriers. Like I don't get the vision or whatever. Like, but again, it has almost nothing to do with me, right? I know the value I bring. I know the amazing results I get my clients. I know that's proven in so many ways year in and year out. And so this doesn't have to determine that, but it is fascinating to have our audience be part of setting value. But like, we have to be able to create neutrality around that, or it becomes really personal. Like that auction becomes about how much do you think I'm worth? And that's bullshit. Does that make sense? And so I really wanted to share that because I think we all do that a lot in business, where we get really invested in this idea of like what people are willing to pay for something means everything about us. And that's so not true. It's like, what is happening in the market? What is that particular person's belief set? Blah, blah, blah. Right. Okay. Let me see these questions. Hey, Kristen. Yeah. Such an important lesson. Exactly. How does the auction itself go as in the start end time, and the bidding starts at 0.1 ETH? Yeah. So, start time is January 31st at 7, end time at 7 a.m. Eastern. End time is February. Let me just like check this because I'm going to be so mad at myself if I say it wrong. So hold on, like, let me just make sure I'm going to say it right. It's February 3rd, but I just want to like make sure I'm saying it right. Is February 3rd at 7 p.m. Eastern. Let's see. But there is one kind of problem with that, which I want to talk about for a second. Yeah, February 3rd at 7 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so the one like challenge point with that is that any bid that happens in the last 10 minutes of the auction will extend the auction by 10 minutes. That we just can't get around. That's like an OpenSea thing. That's not an a lit up life thing. We don't anticipate it extending significantly, but there's really nothing we can do about that if a bid happens in the last 10 minutes. So that could go on for, I think, up to a week. So just keeping that in mind, obviously, again, like totally not what we're planning for, but it could happen. And yes, the starting price is 0.1 Ethereum, which is approximately $400, give or take. Obviously, it'll depend on at the time because it's changes, but yes. I tried to start this process yesterday, but fell flat on step 1 when Coinbase didn't send the text to create or confirm the account. Anyone else experienced that? Kristen, you might want to see if they can send it to your email or reach out to their customer service. Michelle says, I've definitely appreciated the opportunity to learn more about crypto, but there's also part of me that's like, even if I wanted to bid, it doesn't feel like I have the capital to even compete there. And a lot of that just has to do with where we're at financially and where my business is at. Yeah, Michelle, I mean, so appreciate you sharing that. But here's the thing is like, none of us know how this is going to go. And I think that's what's important to say. Like you can see in your mind, you've already maybe decided it's going to go for a lot. And I so appreciate you thinking that. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Like, thank you for thinking it's awesome. But what if it doesn't? Like, what if you're the person who, sees the value in it in a way that no one else does? And so, you miss out because you didn't even feel like you could play the game, but like maybe you could have won the game is kind of the point I would make there. So, we have no idea how this is going to go. Like this could literally go for 0.11 Ethereum or something, right? Or it could go for much more. But I think like putting yourself in the game versus almost deciding it's not for you is such an important exercise in something like this, because there is absolutely no way to know for sure how this will play out. I have truly no idea. And so I think just coming from that place of like, yeah, I could decide that, but I could also see that like, I have no idea. And like, what does it look like to put my hat in the ring? Like, not that I'm trying to convince you to bid, but more the mindset behind it, right? Yeah. Lindsay said, I'm glad you said that. We've talked about that a lot too. So yeah, totally. I think, feels like an extra risk on top of going into the unknown world of crypto. What I think is important to say is like, ideally, there's no risk for getting involved, right? I think there's obviously time risk, all of that kind of stuff. And of course, there's an inherent risk in anything, but no money comes to us unless you win the golden ticket. Might you pay fees on it if you move money to Ethereum and then don't win? Sure. But, and I think this is like actually a really important conversation, is one of the questions I got. So maybe we can just dive into that. Is then like, obviously I'll still have money in Ethereum. So a couple things on that I think are really important. One is that there's like three things that could happen here. You could buy and hold, right? You could buy and sell, or you could buy another NFT or project that you believe in, right? And it's all learning. So say you buy and hold. Personally, I think I bought like 2 Ethereum in March of 2020 for like $600 each. And now they're roughly, obviously give or take, $3,300 in value each. So basically, like huge return on that investment. And I'm not a financial advisor here, so I'm not telling you to do this, but like, if we look at trends, like if you had invested $1,000 into Ethereum, I think it was in like January 1st of 2021, January 1st of 2022, it was worth like, I think like 34.75. So it basically had a 247% return, right? And again, I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying like, I know it can feel scary, but it also could have a big upside. So like, say the worst case is you put money in it and you lose like $100 in fees for the learning experience. You just get to decide if that's worth it or not. Or say you put money in and you lose sitting that out because you don't want to lose the $100. And so you wait till it goes up just a little bit or whatever, and then you sell. And maybe you break even, but you learned the process of buying and selling. And again, I'm not pushing anyone to do this. I'm not a financial advisor, but it's just like the thought process behind it, where it's like, there's an always inherent risk, but there's so many potential upsides too. And so seeing it as like you could wait it out a little bit and have that upside on the other end too. And if you're like, hey, I don't actually want to wait it out, that doesn't feel good to me, and like to lose $100 in fees wouldn't feel good either, that's totally cool. Like nobody has to do it, but I just wouldn't want anyone to not do it because they didn't trust themselves to learn that, or because they didn't trust that like they could potentially get it. Does that make sense? Oh shoot, Elisa, could you say your thing again? I saw people agreeing, but yeah, like just like anything, most investments carry risk. That's what Kaylin said. Totally. Yes. I heard that advice from investors is to never invest money you'd need elsewhere. It would be extra or play money. Yeah, Alessia, I think what I like about what's happening with this, yes, you have to buy the Ethereum first. So in some ways, it's a big barrier to entry, but I'm really, really happy that that's how it's going, because I know that it puts people in a position where they're putting the amount of money into it that they feel comfortable spending on the golden ticket, right? And so I don't want anybody to get into a situation where like the bidding starts going and they end up bidding way, way more than they would have because they can, or because like they can go add money, and it becomes this like really unregulated, crazy like thing, right? Hold on, I got to read this because I don't want to miss this. I missed it, Michelle. I missed yours. That's what you've read. Such a good combo, and also a good way to play with risk edges and look at our overall portfolios. Totally. Yeah. Yeah. At least, yes, at least not money you would need in the short term. Exactly. 100%. Lindsay says, same way, anything we're willing to invest is money we're willing to lose. It feels safer that way. Yeah. So basically, the way that this is so great is like, say, like, I'm just making this up. It doesn't matter what the number is, but say, like, I would love to spend $1,000 on the golden ticket, but I would never spend more than that. Great. So you move your $1,000 into that. It sits there. If the auction goes higher than that, cool. Your cap, and you're not just like in that crazy mode that we can get in and then like adding money to it and like bidding way higher than you actually wanted to, and like having buyer's remorse later and. So yes, it's a giant pain in the ass in some sense that you have to convert it to crypto and know how much you want to convert in advance, but also it's kind of the best way this could run, because ideally nobody's getting in a situation where they get really, really caught up in the hype. They're able to be really, really intentional with what would feel good to them. And I love that piece. Yeah, Elisa says also with investments, I feel like the risk you want to take is so personal, 100%. Some people feel good about high risk investments and others not, and there is no right or wrong. Completely agree with that. Crypto purchase question. Sorry if you mentioned this in the notes. I did read them. That's okay. Is the purchase bridge Ethereum main network? I don't actually know what you're asking there, Caitlin. Like, it's on the Ethereum blockchain, and we're suggesting everyone has like a Coinbase and a MetaMask, but I'm not sure what you mean there. Let me know. Yeah. Can you give a quick explanation of gas fees, even if it's just an overview? That takes us deeper. So it's basically like Ticketmaster fees, is kind of how I would look at it. So it's like a transaction fee on the Ethereum blockchain. And so when you make a transaction, like you purchase an NFT, you need enough Ethereum in your wallet for the initial purchase and the fees that would be associated with that. So it's literally like a service charge. Like, think of it like Ticketmaster or PayPal would charge you to complete a transaction. The thing is that they can vary at different times. So you definitely want to look into that, but it's basically just like a transaction fee. Just as I appreciate this clarity of the process and pushing my edges on my crypto learning, as I didn't even know where to start with this one. Totally. And that's what I really want people to get out of this. Like, if all it is like you learning how to set this up, that's totally okay. Like, that's great. It's about feeling like we can step into this space. I think, especially as women, like that's something I could get on like my soapbox about all day, but I feel like so much of the NFT and crypto space is so tech broy and male dominated right now. And I feel like it makes so many of us want to shy away from that. And so just the fact that a lot of you are like, oh, I set up a wallet, I learned more about this, I Googled NFT, like that kind of stuff, I think is so powerful. Whether or not you ever buy one or use one in your business or whatever, it kind of doesn't matter. It's just, are you going to feel like you can play that game if you want to? Are you going to feel like you get it? Are you going to feel like, when you're in rooms where those conversations are happening, like you have to hide, or are you going to feel like, oh yeah, like I may or may not choose to play in that, but I don't feel like there's something wrong with me because of it, or like I can't learn it, right? Yeah, it's on the transaction, Michelle. Exactly. This is maybe so idealistic, but with investment or spending money in general, I always think that I vote with my dollars or euros for the world I want to live in. And I'm not quite sure I want to vote for Meta or crypto. Would love to know your experience here or your perspective here. Yeah, totally. I mean, like, I think it's totally okay if that doesn't align to your values and there's not something that you like about that. Personally, I don't feel that way. Like I don't feel like a vote against it necessarily. So that doesn't feel like a value rub for me. But I think definitely if it does for you and that's not something like you feel like you can get behind, I would definitely honor that for sure and listen to that. Yeah. So Kaylin said an example is she bought an NFT last year for 300. The gas fee was 16. But her boyfriend on another occasion bought a similar price NFT and his gas fee was 56. Exactly. It varies and it matters on timing, but it's when you make the purchase. Yeah, totally. And sometimes what can happen is like, I think you can feel like you have to buy it right then. And if the gas fee is high, you can almost feel pressure, right? But with ours, you're like the sole winner. There's no like, you must buy it in the next hour kind of thing or something like that. So you could wait until the fees went down a little bit too. On the other hand, I love that you want to make this space more available to women. Yeah, totally. I mean, listen, I don't think that it's like, I personally think that it's kind of where we're going. That's sort of my take is like, I think this is the direction we're moving. And so I think all of us feeling empowered around that is really important. I'm not like necessarily like the most like pro crypto human on the planet or anything like that. I just see that this is where things are going. And I think it's important to feel like we can take charge of that, basically, is how I feel. Okay. So the other thing that I want to say that I think is interesting too is like another analogy that has helped me think about this a lot in terms of the like, I'm converting to Ethereum, blah, 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 is like, think about it basically like you're going to Europe, right? You probably have to do a lot of things to do that. Like you would have to get a passport. You would have to convert money to euros. You'd have to guess about how much you want to spend in euros, that kind of thing, right? And so there is barriers there, but it's basically just kind of being like, but that's worth it for me to learn. Or, you know, when you convert, say you got too many euros and now you need to convert back to dollars, like you could have some exchange like loss there, or you could wait until the value went back up until you convert it back. It's like kind of similar to that, right? So obviously with like a much greater upside in my opinion, but I just wanted to share that as an example because I think sometimes this stuff can feel so out there. And when we look at it of things like that, of like, oh yeah, we convert money to different currencies a lot, like that kind of stuff. Like it's easy to think about it like that. Yeah. Everyone meet me in France. Lindsay said, I would like to talk about what it looks like after the person purchases the NFT. When does the coaching start? If the person wants to lease the spot, how long will they have to do that? Sure. So it can start, I mean, basically right away, like depending on if I have like a call spot open that day, like I'm not like, it starts today at 2 or something like that. But like within a week or two, I'm sure we'll be able to figure out a time that works for both of us and get on the calendar. There's not like this huge waiting period there or anything like that. I would obviously like to start sooner rather than later because I do go on maternity leave mid-April. So I'd love to get in as much time as possible with someone before. So ideally pretty quickly. If the person wanted to lease the spot, how long would they have to do that? I mean, you really have as long as you want. The way I keep thinking about this and explaining it to someone is like, I'm not going to say to you like, oh, you lose the golden ticket because you didn't lease it or something. But just like you really wouldn't want to have like a real estate investment just sitting there for a long time. Like it obviously behooves you to lease it sooner rather than later, but there's no criteria around that for me. Like I'm not like, you have 30 days or something like that. It's totally not like a thing there. So let me know if that makes sense, Lindsay. If you have other questions around that, happy to answer that too. But basically we could start right away. You could lease it right away. There's no requirement, but obviously I would encourage you to do it sooner rather than later to start seeing the value of that investment. This might be a dumb question. No dumb questions. How easy is it to sell and convert back to dollars? So it's really easy to sell. It would just be a matter of like, it varies, just like a stock price varies, right? So like, if you wanted to sell it like today, maybe you bought it for, I'm just going to use round numbers here. This is not actually what it's going for, but like, just so it's easy for me. Maybe you bought it for $100. And now today that value has dropped and it's worth $97. So you could decide, well, I want my money back more than I want those $3. So that's fine. And I'll sell it today. Totally cool. Or you might be like, I actually want it to go up more than I care about getting the cash out today. So I'm actually going to wait it out. So maybe I end up selling it 2 weeks from now for $112. And then I made $12. Again, that's not actually the number it's going for, but you get what I'm saying. So that's sort of how it works. Like, it's super easy to sell when you want to sell. It's just a matter of like, where is it at that point? Kind of just, again, like converting money to euros or something. You might wait for the conversion rate to be at a good spot before you did, or you might be like, it doesn't matter, I need euros today kind of thing. So that's basically how it works. But let me know if that makes sense, Michelle. So the person wouldn't have to start a coaching contract with you right away and pay the base fee until they found a leaser. That's correct, Michelle. Yeah. Like, I want it to be like the person who's going to use that spot is doing it. So I would definitely give them time to find someone to lease it. Emily said, just wanted to say thank you and so grateful that you announced this a month in advance so I could prepare to bid and learn crypto. Absolutely, Emily. That is exactly why I gave us this time. Elisa says, I don't know if you already answered, but will you give the person with the golden ticket the names on your wait list when they want to lease the spot? Yeah, I won't give them like my whole, like a list of every name on my wait list or something, but I'll happily send out an email to my wait list. And if people write back and say like, hey, I'm interested, I'll definitely connect whoever has it with whoever has the golden ticket with the people that are interested for sure. Yeah, cool. And on Emily's note, I want to say this because I sent out an email yesterday, but I want to clarify this as well, that, excuse me, pregnancy, man, peeing, burping, all the things. I want to clarify this, which is that for some people, this is a non-issue if you've already used crypto and things like that. But for some people, it could potentially take up to 15 days if you're a completely new user for the money in your account for the Ethereum to be usable. And so if the auction starts on the 31st, we're about that far away, maybe even a little bit less. And so if you're thinking about participating in the auction, now is definitely the time to get your wallet set up, purchase Ethereum, that kind of thing. I know that that can feel rushed and we're all still learning. But you know, it's worth it if you feel committed to participating in that process, is getting it figured out now so that later, if you decide you want to use it, you're not like, oh crap, and now I don't have access to that money and I can't bid within that 4-day window. So definitely check out that email and get your stuff set up if you are committed to being part of it. If you're not, that's totally okay. Again, like, I'm not a financial advisor. This is like a non-pressured thing. I'm not saying everyone should bid, but if you feel inclined or thinking about it, now is the time to definitely take some action on that. Let me see what other questions I have that I really wanted to talk about. Something else that I wanted to mention too that I thought was really interesting, and I just wanted to share this as an insight of something that we're going through here. But what has been really interesting is that I would say in general, I think our engagement has gone down for like posts and things like that in terms of likes, comments, things like that, as we've talked more and more about the NFT, like crypto, where the space is going, things like that. So, I mean, that's totally cool, right? It's new, it's different. Like I'm not making that wrong, but we've definitely seen that drop. I would say like a decent amount, if not considerably, since we started this. But what has been so fascinating is what I have seen explode since we started this, and is true, honestly, and truly kind of surprised me, is our wait list. So I think when I started this, I said, we have about 400 people or something, and it has definitely gone well over that at this point, and grown probably faster in the last couple weeks than maybe ever before. I don't know if that's true. I'd have to actually like really look at numbers, but I mean like a lot. And so I just wanted to share that because I think sometimes it like outwardly it can look like something, and on the back end it looks like something else. And I think that makes sense because it might mean people are more excited to like get on the wait list and figure out like things like that, learn from that. They know I'm doing like a special waitlist Q&A, but maybe they're not quite comfortable engaging on the post yet or asking their question there or learning in that way. Maybe they just want to watch. Or maybe they like really like what I'm doing and like do want to think about working together, but aren't necessarily ready to like have the whole crypto conversation. And so I just wanted to share that because I think that it can be so disheartening. I think sometimes when we like do something and we're not seeing that front end result, but what has always mattered to me more in business and what I think always matters more in your long-term success is what's happening on the back end. And so that's just the learning I wanted to share today too, that I think is really cool to just know and pay attention to. Oh, good. Emily saw the email. Elisa says, so cool that you're doing that. Honestly, it's so inspiring to see how you run with the idea and are ready to experiment. Thank you so much, Elisa. Michelle says, this totally makes sense to me. It's like pulling the people closer to you who are here for what you're doing. Yes, totally. You do things with so much passion. I'm grateful for how willing you are to bring us along on the process. Thank you, Michelle. Yes. And so hopefully that's just like a reminder for everyone too, that like, it might not always look how you want it to look, or like, of course it would be amazing if like, this was the thing that got us the most engagement we've ever got, but like, it kind of doesn't matter because it's getting us the most interested people in like working with us and purchasing from us. And that's actually what matters more. So just really wanted to share that. All right, let's look at these questions. So one was, if I'm a current client and purchase the NFT, do I now have 2 spots or will this be for my own coaching spot? You will have 2 spots. So if you are a current client, you're not giving up your spot, or your spot isn't like replaced with the NFT or whatever. So you would basically either want to probably get it to resell it or get it to lease it. How far in advance do I need to buy Ethereum to be able to bid in the auction? We just talked about that. It can take up to 15 days. I don't think that it means it 100% always will, but since it can, that's something to really consider. So if you're serious about bidding in the auction, set up your wallet and buy that as soon as possible. And again, I think at first I was kind of like, oh, it's such a bummer that people have to like have that in their wallet first. And it felt like a really big barrier. But the more I thought about that, the more I was like, this is exactly how I want this auction to go. This is exactly what I want, because I want people to put the amount of money in that they feel comfortable putting in. And I don't want anyone to get caught up in the moment or be in a situation where they feel like they got really emotional and overspent or something like that. Like I want someone to walk away feeling like I feel so fucking good about that bid and what I put in there. So I think that's perfect. All right. If I bid on the NFT and win and I want to lease it, would you promote it to your waitlist, or do I have to find a buyer each time? So both, in a sense, like I will definitely promote it to the waitlist, but ultimately it's on you to secure it. Like I said, say I send out an email to the waitlist and these people tell me they're interested, I'll connect you, but ultimately it's on you to work that out with them. And work out what the lease agreement is going to be and all of that. So that part is totally on you. Are there any other benefits for bidding if I don't win? Yes, and this is something I keep forgetting to talk about, so I want to say this here really quickly. If you bid and you either have a wallet that has your name on it so I can automatically see who you are, or you email us, you will be in a pool to get the last intensives that I will release before my maternity leave. So by bidding, you're also getting access to those intensives. So that's another piece. So look, I'm just making up numbers again, but let's say we have 10 people bid and we have one winner, the remaining 9 people will get the intensive offers, not the whole wait list. So just by bidding, you get access to those intensives, and they will be the last ones I will be offering at all before maternity leave. So that's pretty exciting. We will have them in February and March. So they're coming up pretty soon. You definitely got me thinking more about investing in general. Good. I mean, I think that's a huge point of this too. Like, this doesn't have to be about like, are we investing just in crypto? It's just like about seeing, you know, how are we thinking about money? How are we using the money we're making? How are we creating value? And I think that's huge. So I love that you're thinking about that. Hi, Alicia. I had a question about the golden ticket on the investment side. I understand the cash flow potential from leasing the spot, but is there also appreciation play here if we're using the real estate analogy? Or does appreciation potential come in when you sell it, assuming there is a buyer who wants to purchase for more than you did minus the royalty? Yeah, totally. I think appreciation is part of it. So basically, as our business grows, I assume our wait list will only grow. And I assume the value that someone is willing to pay for that spot will only grow. I think you're obviously setting somewhat of a starting point the first time, but like the appreciation in terms of what you could lease it for or what you could sell it for down the road, I think will be much greater. And also like think about the rising prices in our industry even, right? Think about what most coaching is going for now. My price is $12.50 a month plus the 10%. And so, you know, let's say standard pricing for coaching at that level. I mean, so many people are doing 100K packages now, right? So let's say that's like $8,300 a month or something. I'm only charging $12.50 of that. So like the value as the value in our industry continues to rise, I think will be huge in terms of what you could get for that lease as well. Alicia says, or does the NFT itself have a market value that can fluctuate as if we own stock? I was curious if the stake in your business has a valuation. So it doesn't fluctuate. It fluctuates not in terms of like a stock in that way, but I would say it fluctuates in terms of like, what is someone else willing to pay for that? But the thing that I think is exciting about the golden ticket is you just have to find the one right person. So you get to set whatever price or value or lease you want, and you have to find the one person who feels good about paying that kind of thing. And so in some ways, the person who owns the NFT is the one setting the value. So that's how I would think about it. Elisa says, will your base rate for that spot remain the same forever, even if you raise your prices? No, if I raise my prices, like they would definitely have to pay like whatever my new price would be if it was a new person. So the way it works in my business is if you've started with me at a certain rate, I never raise the rate on you. So, you know, if the same person kept using that spot, I would never raise the rate. But like if a new person bought that, it would be like whatever our rate was at the time. But gosh, I haven't raised my rate in 5 or 6 years, I mean, almost the whole time I've been in business. So it's not like that's like a huge thing that happens all the time or that I would be concerned about. Where I make the money is definitely off of the revenue share. So yeah, but no, I mean, it depends. It would depend on like the person, not necessarily the exact spot amount, if that makes sense. Okay, cool. What else? Okay, yeah, I kind of already talked about this one, so I'll kind of just skip over this one, but I'll just really quickly like reinforce it. But do I need to have the amount I'm bidding in my wallet at the time of bid, or is there a window of time to transfer it? I can buy the Ethereum in advance, but I don't want to transfer more into my account than is necessary, but I won't know what amount until the auction is complete and if I win. So kind of same philosophy here, which is like you can buy. I really want you to think about how much would I want to buy it for and go off that. Like, obviously it's an auction, so I get that price could vary, but like my recommendation would be think about like what number am I willing to go up to, and then putting that amount of Ethereum in your account and almost knowing you have a cap. Obviously, in some ways that's bad advice from my end, in the sense that of course it would be great for a Lit Up Life if the auction went like ham and everyone was like outbidding each other and it was going crazy and whatever. That would be like super exciting for us, obviously, but I don't want that for you, where someone is in a situation where they feel like they have to keep adding money to their account and things like that. In terms of putting it in, I think we've talked a lot about what it looks like to leave it in and grow value, transfer it out, that kind of thing. So I won't get into all of that. But again, I would really try to think about it as like, how much would I want to, and then how do I play with that, as opposed to I'd want to keep adding more depending on what the auction was doing, because I think that's an easy way to almost come from that emotionality instead of feeling really clear of like what the value is for you. Lisa says, sorry, it's totally off topic, but will you do a live on how you organize your maternity leave? Super interested in that. Yeah, I totally will, for sure. Do you have any general guidance on how the potential lease or sale income would be considered from a tax perspective, or is that a CPAQ? I mean, I think it's definitely a CPAQ, but I would say it probably is business income, and I think it'd probably be safe to count it as that. Obviously, with the crypto world, I think it's all a little like, new and upcoming, and like how they're accounting things and what they're taxing is kind of interesting, but I would plan that you're going to think of it as business income, probably. I mean, I would definitely ask your CPA, but I don't think it would be like, there would be a huge workaround to that. Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. I hope that was helpful. I know we kind of bounced around a lot, but I think it was really helpful to talk about like having the Ethereum in your wallet, the investing questions, that kind of thing. And as always, I'm here for all of your questions. So if you commented, you're entered to win $100, but if you're watching the replay, let me know. We'll come back and answer all of these. Some of the new ones we got, we'll throw on the updated, or we'll throw the updated ones on the FAQ page. And I just really appreciate you guys being interested in this. I know this is like, it's like we're having this conversation for like a month and it's a whole thing and we're all having to wrap our heads around it. But I just really want y'all to know how much I appreciate you coming along on this ride with me and learning with me and being willing to be part of this journey, because that is totally the goal here, is for us all to just like learn and grow together. And that's the whole point of why I'm doing this. And that's what excites me now. So to see all of your excitement means the world to me. And so thank you again. If y'all have questions, put them here, reach out, check out the FAQ. Obviously we'll keep adding things there too. So I love you all. I hope you have a beautiful Monday, and I will see y'all soon. Bye guys.